some dinner.
So I'm going to go ahead and start the broadcast. Maybe we'll have some people join us. I'm just going to share my screen. So, yeah. Actually,
Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Sorry, I forgot that it only worked in Chrome, and I couldn't figure out why.
If my fan is too loud, let me know.
No. Yeah, it's fine. I can't hear it.
Okay, cool.
So do you want to go through the quiz?
Yeah, I started it. Do you have everything pulled up on there?
Yeah. Just let me. I've got the class up. Let me just pull the quiz up.
Sweet. No rush. I'm just sending my husband a message what to make for dinner, so no rush.
Did you get a chance to send the link to the other guy in the email?
Yeah, I sent it to the other guy too. Have you heard from him at all?
Yeah, he messaged me earlier today, and he was like, "What's going on with the group meetings? I don't understand." And then that's when I messaged you, and I didn't hear back from him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think our thread kind of ended up being you and me. So when I sent the link, I made sure to send it to him too. So.
Okay, good. Have you heard from him?
No, I haven't.
Okay, let's see. I'm pulling it up right now. It's just taking forever to load for some reason.
No big deal.
Did you ever figure out the trade-off stuff last week?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're good there.
Okay. I ended up just doing it all by hand. I'm sure there was an easier way of like calculating it all, but
Yeah.
okay. I've got it up. It's 20 questions, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Just trying to get these screens side by side. Okay, so you started already?
Yeah, but I'm only on number 4, so and the first ones are like pretty simple, so.
Yeah. So did you get supply and demand first one?
Yes, supply and demand for number 1.
Highest form competition would be perfect competition.
Yeah, that's what I got too.
Okay. Demand for a good or service is determined by those who buy the good or service. Right?
And then then, so the last one I was reading about, you're getting these a lot faster than I did. I did not prepare that well today. But so most studies indicate that tobacco and marijuana tend to be, so an inferior good is which, a good for which other things being equal, an increase in income leads to a decrease in demand. And then substitute is two goods for which an increase in the price of one leads to an increase in the demand for the other. Well, I think that would be, and then complements is two goods which an increase in the price of one leads to a decrease in the demand for other. I think it would be a substitute, right?
Um,
Or,
sorry, I'm just reading through.
yeah, take your time.
I feel like that would make sense, but I wonder what they want us to put.
Yeah. So I'm like, if marijuana prices go up, does the demand for tobacco increase?
I feel like they could be compliments too, though.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know. Let's
Or maybe they're unrelated because one is legal and one is not legal. I don't know.
pull up the book real fast and see if there's a study on it. I like the online books because you can just search the whole like
Yes.
section.
Oh my gosh. But you know what? McGraw-Hill. Have you ever had a McGraw-Hill textbook?
Yeah.
They make it harder to search, but you have to like pull up a different tab to be able to do it, and it's kind of weird. But yeah.
Oh, is this book on McGraw Hill?
No, this one's through Cengage, so I think this one's a lot better than McGraw-Hill personally. But yeah.
Okay. So this one's like in the iLearn automatically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry, I just want to look it up because I feel like this is one that could go.
Kind of weird one.
Yeah. How did you do on the quiz last week? Did you do all right?
What's that?
How did you do on last week's quiz? Did you end up doing all right?
I think I actually got a C. So no, I didn't do that well. But by the end of the week, I had everything pretty good figured out.
Yeah.
So it got better.
Not find this anywhere.
Yeah.
I did a search like online too, and there's like arguments on whether or not they're complements or substitutes. So.
Oh, come on. Do
Do you want to come back to this one?
Yeah, I've kind of skipped it and I started
Okay.
looking at other ones. So number 4 we'll come back to. Um, for this one, so if price goes up and according to the law of demand, quantity would go down. So 100, 200, 400 don't work. I put 0.
That makes sense.
And so for number 6, with a shift to the right, I think that would be the increase of the price of a complement, because when so if the increase in the price of one would lead to the increase in the price of one, no, it would be the opposite. It would be a substitute. Increase in the price of one would increase the demand for the other, right? A substitute.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Substitute. Or
oh crap. So which one did you put? Which?
DA to DB. Sorry. Hey, go play with your dad. Decrease in price. So it's definitely not an inferior good, because people are willing to pay more for less.
Yeah. And it's not a decrease in price because price is going up.
Mm-hmm.
And buyers expecting.
Well, if buyers were expecting the good to fall, then they wouldn't be paying more.
So I think increase in price will
So, okay, and then a complement is 2 goods for which an increase in the price of one leads to a. See, but that's the thing. If you increase the price of one in a complement, then it decreases the demand for the other. So it would have to be an increase in the price of a substitute.
Oh wait. Or yeah, so the choice B would make sense because the inferior goods means they're spending more. Right?
Yeah, it's an inferior good and income goes down, then like I don't know, if this is like that cheap awful toilet paper, people would pay more. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna look at the section that talks about, let's see if I can pull this up. Let me see if I can pull up the section about the demand graphs.
About what?
Demand graphs.
Oh.
Demand schedule, yeah. Demand schedule. He's mad at me. Demand schedule. Demand schedules, if it shifts to the right. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the right answer. So yeah, shift to the right, if it stays like at the same angle and everything, is an increase in demand. A shift to the left is a decrease in demand. Okay. All right, yeah, I think we can move on to the next one.
I was just looking at it. I think it's the
What's that?
Sorry, I'm looking again. So with the next question, if you add up all of demand for the $10 one, it comes up to 20. There's only one graph that shows 20 at $10, but the graph like cuts off. I don't know what that's about.
So at $7, nine. Okay, so which one you added up the $10 one?
Mm-hmm. And that comes up to 20, and only the first graph has 10 and 20. But the first graph is kind of weird because it just stops at $7, so I don't know if that's okay.
I think that's fine because that's when this thing ends. So $10 it would be 6, 12, 18, 20. Dollars. Are you sure the last one doesn't hit at 20 on 10?
Yeah, it looks
Oh
like.
no. Yeah, that's just right at 10. 10
Yeah,
and 10. All right, first one looks good.
cool. Okay.
Has increased at every price. So it shifted to the right.
Mm-hmm. So it's not the first two for sure.
So it's definitely not the first one because that means that demand would have gone down.
Definitely not the second one because
What's that?
it's definitely not the second one because if income increases, then inferior goods demand goes down too.
That's like
Um,
a trick.
yeah. Um,
Complementary good is when it's not a substitute, it's when they increase in
so, sorry, you froze up. Um, yeah, so complimentary is like hot dogs and mustard.
yeah.
So,
The price of it might be the last one. Because if the price of hot dogs goes down, then the demand of hot dog buns will go up.
yeah, I think that makes sense.
Cool.
I feel good about that one.
Sweet. And
Um,
then quantity supplied of the good is the amount that buyers are willing and able to purchase. Oh, no, it's buyers and sellers agree will be brought to them. It should be buyers and sellers agree will be brought to the market. What do you...
I feel like that could be it, but I'm looking at D also, and I don't know if it's asking if like the amount that's actually supplied or if it's just looking at supply in general. Because then it could be set the amount that sellers are willing to sell at certain prices too.
So I think it's where on the supply and demand curve, it's like where buyers are willing and able to purchase and where sellers are willing and able to sell, where it meets on that cross.
Okay.
But let me do some looking.
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense.
I think it's chapter 4, section 4A when it talks about equilibrium.
Okay, I'm looking it up real fast. I just looked it up online just because it's faster to load than the textbook. And there are a couple different sites that say sellers are willing and able to sell. But if you find it in the textbook,
Maybe it's just see if I can find anything. Quantity supplied, the amount of a good that sellers are willing and able to sell. You're right.
okay.
Yep. We'll figure out. So, and then I get back quantity demand, buyers are willing and able to purchase. And then there's got to be something in here about equilibrium later on. Today's supply curve for iPods could shift in response to a change. So supply and supply.
Nice. I feel like this one's probably all above. What do you think?
Although many things determine the quantity supplied of a good, the price of the good is central. So today's price, the future price, I guess that would be both.
I just don't know if it's like tricking us because it says
Yeah,
today.
I think it's all of the above too.
Okay.
Huh. Okay. Diagram below pertains to the demand for United States. A sale on chicken would cause the graph to move from. So those are substitute items, right?
So we lower the demand, which would move probably
So,
maybe I think it would be X to Y, but I'm not super sure in the book.
Yeah, my book is taking forever to load. I think the shift would be from DA to DB. Maybe not.
Um,
Substitute. From Y
so
to
what's the
X.
difference between shifting a line and shifting points on the line?
So what does it mean when it moves from Y to X and X to Y?
So what I thought, but I'm not completely sure on this, is when the line moves, it's um, like with the progression possibilities, like changing technology and stuff like that, and just moving along the line was like demand changing. But I'm not super sure on that because I looked at one of the other questions, and that wouldn't make sense for the other line shift question we did. I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Let me Google effect on supply curve. No, it would be substitute effect on demand curve. Different. Yeah, I think on here it's saying you're right. It would go from A to B. Can be the demand curve. Cut back on their demand. Okay, let me see how complementary goods would affect. Because the last one we did, I think, was
It was decrease in income.
yeah, and I think that's just a different yeah. So okay, so substitute goods will go up and down along the demand curve, but complementary goods will shift the curve. I think like when we talked about like hot dogs and buns, like
Uh,
if there's a sale on hot dogs, then the demand curve will shift to the right. The whole curve will shift to the right. Um,
okay,
but if it's a substitute, I'm sorry, what are we talking about? Yeah, a substitute curve, substitute item, so like chicken and turkey, then it'll move up and down on the line, but it looks like it won't shift the demand chart. Does that make sense?
that does make sense because it's not points. It's just the demand curve moving along the supply. So yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay, so substitute. Oh, wait.
So it would be X to Y then, right?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me look at one more thing to make sure I get this right.
Okay.
Um, so say there was an increase in the price of chicken. Do we have this backwards?
Well, it's a sale on chicken, so a
Yeah.
decrease.
So no, a substitute. I think I'm like starting to get substitute and complements mixed
Yeah,
up.
that's what I hate about this kind of stuff is if you think about it too long, it just seems super abstract. I'm like,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
um, so chicken would definitely be a substitute. Let's search that. A
Yes,
substitute.
that is definitely a substitute. And it makes sense when you think about it the first time, but when you keep thinking about it, no promises. Okay. So I'm looking at some charts on Wikipedia, and it says suppose the price of Coke rises from P1 to P2. because of the inputs. This would cause the people to consume less Coke and decrease from Q1 to Q2. Demand, no, but see, in Wikipedia it says the whole chart would shift to the right. So that would be, in this case, DA. If like, say, so Pepsi, and so Coke demand went down, Pepsi demand would go up, and it's saying it would shift the whole curve to the right.
We shift the demand curve.
Yeah, the demand curve to the right. In that case, with this question, we would go from DA to DB.
Because the points on like the X and Y they represent where the demand curve intersects with the
Let me
supply.
show you my screen.
Wait, so the chart we have is
So this is what it's like saying on Wikipedia. So say that the price for Coca-Cola rises from P1 to P2. So before the quantity was Q1, then it goes to Q2 because demand. So this is the demand curve for Coke. So price changes here. In this case, it would actually be chicken's price was going down. And then this is the Pepsi graph, demand graph. So all of the curve would shift to the right if Coke goes up. So in our case, if
so
the
is the graph
go
we
ahead,
have, is that the supply curve or the demand curve?
this is the demand curve.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
yeah, we
it's kind of
from
the
DA.
opposite for us. If price goes down, then our curve would shift to the left instead of the right because demand for turkey would go down.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going DA to DB then, right?
Yeah, let me check somewhere else. Substitute.
That would make sense though, because if the demand is changing, then
Yeah, so let's check and see what happens with the complement because that's kind of the opposite. Complement goods effect on the demand curve. Complementary goods. Ugh, gross. This looks complicated. So I think this is the same thing though. This is the supply curve. Yeah, I think we got it.
so we're going with DA to DB.
Yes, if you feel like that's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I'm so confused, but I think that sounds good. The next one seems simpler though, like too simple.
Sorry, cooking questions. Um, if there are only 4 sellers in the market and the market quantity supplied is the price of $10. Whoa, that's a lot of numbers.
So I think we're just adding up all the ones in the $10 row.
These are, yeah. Then the quantity market supplied is
44.
15, 30, 44.
Seems too easy.
I know. I'm like, I don't know. All right, sounds good. Night, a rightward shift in the supply curve is called a increase in supply.
Yes.
Definitely
Or
not anything quantity. Decrease in quantity. Increase in supply. Yeah, quantity supplied is a specific point on the graph, but supply is the whole line. So
okay.
yeah, that should be right. Which supply schedule obeys the law of supply? Well, let me Google the law of supply.
I think just that it increases as prices increase. But 10, 15, 20, 25. But two of them do that, so I don't know.
So it would be B and D?
Oh, is that an option?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I just Googled it and it said the same thing.
Awesome. Okay, unique. Oh my gosh, we're at 15. Yay. The unique point at which supply and demand curves intersect is equilibrium, finally. Yay.
Um,
Price of 30. Did you? Yes, no, maybe so.
on equilibrium?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Okay. I think above is a surplus and below the equilibrium is a shortage. So at 35, there would be a surplus of 200 because it's the difference of 200 and 400. Does that sound right?
Let me see. 200 quantity. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right.
I'm gonna double check. But yeah, above is the surplus demand, or below is the shortage. So we would want to see where actually, yeah, we would want to meet where the surplus is 600, or supplied would be 600,
Oh,
and
so
demand would
400.
be,
Two.
yeah, demand would be, demand
Yeah,
at 35 is 200. So it would actually be 400 is the surplus. The difference between the supply at 35 and the demand at 35.
yeah, that makes sense. I was looking at it backwards.
I was too. I was like looking at the difference between the equilibrium, but no, it would be at that specific price. So, okay. Which of the following movements would illustrate the effect in the market for fences of a decrease in the price of wood? Market for fences. So the price of wood goes down, the demand of fences goes.
Up.
Okay, so
So
supply 1 and demand 1 is A. That's where the previous equilibrium is. And then supply and demand would shift to the right to supply 2 and demand 2. So it would be A to C, right? Oh, that's not an option. Never mind.
I think it would be B to D because demand would go up and supply would go up.
Oh, was
No,
I looking at the wrong supply?
or wait, no, that doesn't make sense. So, but both would go up, right?
Initially, what would happen was demand would go up before supply went up. Um, so it would be like A to, and it would be
We could do B to C because the supply would still be going up.
supply.
Oh,
Ah,
no.
there's too many lines on here.
Yeah. Um,
Demand one. So initially it's at A. That's the equilibrium. And then what happens is demand goes up and supply follows next. But initially it would be just demand going up and supply would stay the same. So demand would go up to D.
Yeah, that line's definitely shifting, and that's the only option. So
Yeah, I think it's D.
yeah,
Because because supply is still the same, because supply hasn't changed yet
yeah,
and adjusted to the market. Okay, so the last one, A to D.
yep.
Okay.
Um,
No, wait, hold on. Demand. This sucks.
we've got another turkey question.
I'm looking at the wrong line. I should be looking at demand.
Yeah, we got it right though, because we just want the demand one to shift to demand two, and A to D does that, but none of the other ones do that.
Okay. No, yeah, I'm sorry. Wow. Okay, let's move on before I mess it up. Okay. Oh, more about turkeys.
I'm so glad these are only 20 questions. I couldn't handle more.
Yeah. All else equal, an increase in the productivity of turkey farmers would cause a move from an increase in productivity, so they would
So
supply more?
that would be shifting the supply curve, which means it's on the points, not the lines. So we're shifting from
Not
X to
a
Y. And
Yeah, so I think yeah. So a change in supply affects the original demand curve, doesn't shift the demand curve. So yeah, I think it would be Y to X because an increase in supply would mean a decrease in price.
yeah, you're right. I was looking at it weird.
Okay. So yeah, so when it's along the line, that
It's just the
change
other
in
line.
supply.
So
Okay, that makes sense. So Y
um,
to X.
yes. Yeah.
Supply would shift. So supply would shift to the right because it's increasing, which would drop.
Yes. Yeah, it would drop price and increase quantity, and Y to X does that.
Perfect. Okay. Hey, look at that 19.
Sweet.
A decrease in quantity supplied. So it's the supply shifting to the left. D?
Sorry, I'm still like trying to comprehend it. Um, decrease in supply. Yeah, D.
Okay. Big words I don't understand.
Yeah. Prices.
I think it's the second one.
For does not apply.
Oh.
I think.
It's got to be the third one then, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
All
like,
right.
the first and the fourth one sound about right, but I know the second one's right.
Okay, now we got to figure out the marijuana one, and then we're done.
Of course, marijuana question.
Okay.
What are unrelated goods? Maybe it's an unrelated good. R is, I guess, is tobacco. Don't even know how to spell tobacco. And marijuana. Unrelated goods. Cannabis is found to be a substitute for alcohol and a complement to tobacco. But really, as BYU students, should we really know that?
Did you find that in a book or online?
No, online. Let me see if there's anything in the book about tobacco. There is. But no, see, but this is talking about like a public announcement for mandatory health warnings has decreased the demand in cigarettes. That doesn't have anything to do with marijuana.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, there is something about marijuana here. A related question is how the price of cigarettes affect the demand for illicit drugs such as marijuana. Opponents of cigarette taxes often argue that tobacco and marijuana are substitutes, so that high cigarette prices encourage marijuana use. By contrast, many experts on substance abuse view tobacco as a gateway drug, leading young people to experiment with other harmful stuff. Studies of data are consistent with the latter view. They find that lower cigarette prices are associated with greater use of marijuana. In other words, tobacco and marijuana appear to be complements rather than substitutes.
Good to know.
Yeah, I like that view, honestly. I say stay away from both and we'll all be fine. Okay, so is that it? We're done?
Yeah, we're done. Let's submit, see what happens.
Yep. Why is it going so slow?
Yeah, that's the one bad thing about doing this stuff on like Facebook and whatnot, because it makes everything else go super slow.
We missed 3.
Oh, man. Does it show us which ones?
No.
That stinks.
Yeah.
3, so out of 20 questions, it's like an 85. Okay, not
Yep.
the end of the world, but
No,
we can do
definitely
better.
an improvement over last week for me, so it's okay. I
Yeah,
feel like this
I'm
week
sure it has something to do with the supply and demand shifting because we're thinking a lot about those.
I hope we can go back and look at it after the deadline. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I'll go
All right.
ahead and add this group thing on the post.
Cool. And yeah, is that it? Is there anything else that we need to do?
I think we're good to go. So I'll see you later next week.
Yeah, see ya. Thanks so much.
Okay, thanks. Bye.